Too fast to intercept. The truth behind China's hypersonic shield. Speed reshapes the security landscape. Why has US defense failed? On January 12, 2026, two bombshell announcements capable of rewriting the global defense landscape simultaneously ignited public discourse. First, authoritative foreign media outlets like Jane's Defense Weekly revealed that commercial high-resolution satellites had captured China's fourth nuclear-powered aircraft carrier conducting high-intensity electromagnetic catapult testing in a specific area of the South China Sea for several consecutive days. The JR-35 stealth fighter completed combat-oriented subjects with a dense takeoff and landing cycle, achieving a daily average sortie efficiency more than 15% higher than that of the US Ford class carriers, shattering the US military's long-standing monopoly in this field. On the same day, Admiral John Aquilino, commander of the US Indo-Pacific Command, openly admitted at a routine press conference that the existing US land-based THAAD and sea-based Aegis missile defense systems have an extremely low probability of successfully intercepting the waverider hypersonic missiles recently showcased by China, leaving them in a practically helpless and passive state. Here lies the most counterintuitive truth: the United States, which once monopolized top-tier military technology, has now been surpassed in two core areas simultaneously, with even its defenses falling into a passive position. This is not a sci-fi movie plot, but unfolding reality. Why has the US military system, known as the global defense benchmark, failed? First, let's understand this carrier weapon that is the electromagnetic catapult, EMLS. Essentially, it is a high-power electromagnetic propulsion device, like a super-electric slingshot with precise force control. Through strong magnetic fields generated by linear motors, it launches fighter jets smoothly and at high speeds. Its core advantage is maximized controllability. In contrast, the traditional steam catapult is more like a clumsy and untamable old-fashioned bicycle pump, driven by the release of stored high-pressure steam. Not only is the entire system nearly 50% heavier than an electromagnetic one, occupying valuable internal space on the carrier, but more fatally, its force regulation is extremely crude. The range between minimum and maximum thrust is narrow, making it unable to adapt to extreme aircraft types like light drones or heavy early warning aircraft. Forced catapulting would either damage the aircraft structure or result in takeoff failure due to insufficient thrust. The US Nimitz class carriers once suffered an incident where a steam catapult's uncontrolled force damaged the landing gear of an E-2 early warning aircraft during takeoff, requiring a week for repairs. China's electromagnetic catapult system, however, can achieve millisecond-level precision in thrust adjustment. It can smoothly adapt to everything from carrier-based drones weighing a few tons to the 30-plus-ton JR-35 stealth fighters and early warning aircraft. Furthermore, the launch interval has been shortened to 45 seconds, more than doubling the efficiency of steam catapults. This is the key factor in its ability to surpass the Ford class. Even more disruptive is the waverider ballistic technology. The missile does not fly in a straight line but glides and changes orbit like a stone skipping across water, with speeds exceeding Mach 5 and an unpredictable trajectory. Even if US radars capture the signal, they cannot calculate an interception path in time, thoroughly shattering the traditional military logic that defense is greater than offense. Next, we will dismantle the cognitive bias behind this technical reversal and its deep impact on global security. The contest of electromagnetic catapults is essentially a decisive battle of technical roots. The EMLS system on the US Ford class carrier was once touted as being 20 years ahead of the world, but its energy efficiency is only 60%, and it suffers from frequent breakdowns, failing to form stable combat effectiveness even after years of service. In contrast, the electromagnetic catapult system on China's nuclear-powered carrier not only matches the Ford class in energy efficiency but also improves takeoff efficiency by over 15%, allowing for up to 320 carrier-based aircraft sorties per day, far exceeding the Ford class's upper limit of 270 to 310 sorties. More critically, the failure rate of the Chinese system is less than one-third of the Ford class, demonstrating extreme stability during high-intensity testing. This is not an accidental breakthrough, but a gap in technological integration capabilities. The US Electromagnetic catapult project was fragmented among multiple manufacturers lacking unified planning, with system debugging alone taking 8 years. China, on the other hand, concentrated its forces to break through core technologies, efficiently adapting the electromagnetic catapult with the nuclear power system to achieve success in one step. Analysis: the West always defaults to the assumption that being the first mover in technology is an advantage, ignoring China's late mover advantage in system integration. This gap is not the backwardness of a single component, but a misalignment in top-level design logic, signaling that military technology competition has shifted from single-point breakthroughs to system confrontation, and the moat of traditional technological hegemony is crumbling. The contrast in the hypersonic field is even more glaring. The US launched hypersonic weapon research as early as the beginning of the 21st century, initiating nearly 10 projects, only to fall into the predicament of blooming everywhere but lagging everywhere. The Air Force's AGM-183A project was substantially terminated after multiple failed test launches. The Navy's Hypersonic Air-Launched Offensive Anti-Surface Warfare project was recently cancelled outright, and the Army's Dark Eagle missile deployment timeline has been pushed back repeatedly, leaving the US military without a single hypersonic weapon formally in service to date. Conversely, China's waverider missiles have already achieved combat capability, with the US Indo-Pacific Command admitting that existing defense systems have an interception success rate of less than 10% against them. Data speaks louder. The US has invested over $15 billion in hypersonic projects without a single finalized weapon. China, by concentrating resources to break through scramjet engine and waverider body technology, has realized weaponization. Although Russia has the Zircon missile in service, its range and stability are inferior to Chinese models. Analysis: the US predicament stems from vague strategic positioning and scattered resources, always trying to cover the needs of multiple military branches simultaneously, ultimately losing sight of everything. This reveals a core proposition: the key to technological competition is not how much is invested, but whether one can find the right direction and concentrate efforts. The Western multi-headed management model is showing fatigue in cutting-edge technological fields. This subversive change in the technological landscape is rewriting the underlying logic of global security from the root, breaking the established order of US dominance and offensive-defensive imbalance formed after the Cold War. For decades, the US relied on 11 nuclear-powered carrier strike groups and a globally networked missile defense system to build a layered, integrated offense and defense hegemonic system. Carrier strike groups could reach any hotspot maritime area globally within 72 hours, forming a deterrent circle with a radius of thousands of kilometers using carrier-based aircraft, turning the Pacific and Indian Oceans into their own strategic backyard. Land-based THAAD and sea-based Aegis systems linked with ally missile defenses to form a defensive net covering Eurasia, attempting to achieve absolute security where adversary attacks must be intercepted. Under this structure, the US could intervene in regional conflicts at will, from the Gulf War to military deterrence in the Asia-Pacific. Everything relied on the absolute advantage of this system. Now, this balance has been thoroughly broken. China's fourth nuclear-powered carrier, with its infinite endurance and efficient electromagnetic catapult system, significantly enhances ocean projection and sustained combat capabilities, allowing for a long-term presence in key Indo-Pacific waters to offset the deployment advantage of US carriers. Meanwhile, waverider hypersonic missiles directly penetrate the US anti-missile network. Their speed exceeding Mach 5 and unpredictable orbit-changing capabilities expose US military bases and carrier strike groups in the Asia-Pacific to deterrence, forming a precise asymmetric check and balance. This balance is not achieved through military expansion but is a deterrence barrier built on technological breakthroughs, much like mutually assured destruction, MAD, with nuclear weapons during the Cold War. The combination of hypersonic weapons and advanced nuclear carriers essentially raises the cost of potential conflict to a height that neither side can bear, using technological checks and balances to curb the impulse for war and forcing all parties back to the negotiating table. The reaction of European countries also confirms this. Germany and France have accelerated joint research and development of hypersonic defense systems in recent years but have struggled to break through core bottlenecks due to technological gaps. The UK planned to purchase US anti-missile systems, only to find them basically ineffective against waverider trajectories. Analysis: the breaking of the technological balance is not intended to trigger an arms race, but to force the world back to a rational view of security. The concept of absolute security long practiced by the West was unrealistic to begin with. China's technological development has merely pricked this bubble of fantasy, pushing global security from unipolar hegemony to pluralistic checks and balances, which actually holds positive significance for maintaining world peace. More worthy of deep reflection is the persistent bias in the West's perception of Chinese military technology. From the China tech theft theory to the threat theory, the West always interprets China's progress through inherent prejudice, unwilling to face its own institutional flaws. In fact, China's military technology development has always followed a defensive national defense policy. The core purpose of hypersonic missiles and electromagnetic catapult carriers is to build an asymmetric defense shield, not to proactively provoke. This logic of seeking peace through defense forms a sharp contrast with the Western concept of seeking security through offense. Former U.S. Secretary of Defense Esper once admitted that the U.S. military's cognitive bias led to strategic misjudgment, ignoring the speed of China's technological iteration. Analysis: cognitive bias is more dangerous than technological gaps. If the West continues to view China's technological development through zero-sum game thinking, it will only fall into the vicious cycle of an arms race. Only by putting aside prejudice and facing the reality of technological balance can a more stable global security system be built. Technology itself has no morality, the key lies in how it is used. This is a proposition faced by all of humanity. Speed is not the prelude to war, but the barrier for peace. The breakthrough in China's military technology is essentially using technological checks and balances to break hegemonic monopoly and promote the return of global security to a state of balance. Only when no single country can willfully provoke others based on technological superiority can peace be truly guaranteed.